Your partner walks past you without a word. They eat dinner in silence, just scrolling on their phone. You ask what's wrong, and they just say nothing before leaving the room. This isn't just a bad mood. This is the silent treatment, one of the most devastating weapons in dark psychology, designed to break your will without ever raising a voice. At first, it feels more confusing than painful. Maybe they had a bad day at work, you tell yourself. Maybe you're just overthinking things. But then the silence stretches from hours into days. Basic communication, like asking them to pass the salt, becomes impossible. Your attempts to talk are met with cold stares or them just walking away. You start to feel invisible, like you're going crazy, desperate for any scrap of normalcy. This is stonewalling, what relationship researcher John Gottman calls the fourth horseman of toxic relationships. One partner completely withdraws emotionally and physically, leaving the other flooded with anxiety, rejection, and self-doubt, and the manipulator knows exactly what they're doing. The silence creates a physiological stress response in your brain similar to physical pain. It floods your system with cortisol while starving you of the oxytocin that comes from connection. This makes you biologically desperate to end the silence at any cost. So you start apologizing for things you didn't even do. You change your behavior to please them. You offer to do more chores, cook their favorite meal, or give them space, even though what you really need is a conversation. But they weaponize that need against you. The silent treatment works because we humans are wired for connection. Social rejection activates the same regions in our brain as a physical injury. They exploit this core vulnerability to establish dominance without ever having to justify their anger or behavior. The loving partner from yesterday becomes a complete stranger today. They communicate only through heavy sighs, eye rolls, slammed doors, or a pointed silence at family gatherings. And when you finally crack, when you raise your voice in pure frustration, they play the victim. See, this is why I don't talk to you. You're just too emotional. This is gaslighting, layered right on top of the silence. Your legitimate pain at being ignored gets twisted into proof that you're the problem. Suddenly, you're questioning whether you even deserve basic human communication. The cycle repeats itself predictably. Something minor triggers them, a disagreement about plans, you wanting to see your friends, or even forgetting to text back right away. Instead of having an adult discussion, they deploy the nuclear option, total withdrawal. Friends notice you're distracted and ask what's wrong, but you can't explain it. Admitting, my partner won't speak to me, feels humiliating, so you make excuses while spiraling internally. Checking their social media for clues, rereading old messages for any hint of what you did wrong. Meanwhile, they maintain perfect normalcy with everyone else. They're chatting happily with coworkers, posting selfies, talking to their parents. This proves the silence is a deliberate choice, reserved only for you. This selective muteness creates a massive power imbalance. They control the emotional temperature of the relationship, doling out conversation as a reward and withholding it as punishment. They train you like one of Pavlov's dogs, to avoid certain topics, behaviors, or even opinions that might set them off. Over time, the silent treatment escalates. They might start sleeping on the couch, refusing any kind of affection or intimacy, ignoring your birthday or anniversary. They might start communicating only through passive-aggressive notes or texts like, handle it yourself when you ask for help with a shared responsibility. Your self-esteem erodes as you internalize their rejection. You stop sharing details about your day, you stop making plans that involve them. You stop dressing up or pursuing your hobbies because nothing feels worth celebrating in this emotional void. The twisted genius of this dark psychology tactic is its deniability. When you confront them later, they'll gaslight you with phrases like, I was just giving you space, or you're too needy, or I don't remember being silent. They force you to doubt your own perception of reality. But here's the devastating truth that keeps victims trapped. Ending the silence often brings an intense, overwhelming relief. It's a dopamine rush that can feel even stronger than making up after a fight. This creates a trauma bond, where this intermittent reinforcement makes the relationship feel addictive, despite all the pain. They might break the silence with a casual, hey, after 3 days, or a hug after a week, pretending nothing ever happened. And because your nervous system craves resolution so badly, you accept it, terrified of triggering another round of silence. This intermittent reward schedule is the exact same mechanism that makes slot machines so addictive. The unpredictable payoffs create obsession. It works perfectly on partners who have already been primed by love bombing or idealization. In marriages or long-term partnerships, the stakes are even higher. Shared finances, children, and a home can make leaving feel impossible. So victims endure years of this psychological torture, developing anxiety disorders, depression, or even physical symptoms like migraines and insomnia from the chronic stress. The manipulator gains total control. You walk on eggshells, censor your every word, and prioritize their comfort over your own needs. Eventually, you lose the ability to trust your own instincts about what a healthy relationship even looks like. But what if I told you that this nightmare has a wake-up moment, a single realization that can break the spell forever? The first time you refuse to chase them, refuse to apologize for their tantrum, and mirror their silence back not out of spite, but for self-preservation, you reclaim a power they never expected you to have. Suddenly, the dynamic shifts. The silent treatment only works on someone who is desperate for their approval. Walking away, whether emotionally or physically, starves the manipulator of their primary weapon and forces them to confront their own emptiness. If you've ever stared at a silent partner, wondering why basic communication feels like begging, know this. It was never about you deserving silence. It was dark psychology. It was emotional terrorism disguised as conflict avoidance, designed to erode your sense of self until you're a shell, primed for their control. The red flags scream in hindsight. The consistent withdrawal during disagreements, their normal behavior with everyone else, the denial when confronted, and your growing isolation from your support system. True partners communicate through conflict. Manipulators use silence to dominate. You deserve words, not weapons. Connection, not control. A voice, not a void. For more eye-opening stories that decode the hidden tactics of dark psychology, human behavior manipulation, and toxic relationship dynamics, subscribe to Dark Mind Mastery Psychology right now. This channel delivers cinematic dark psychology narratives, real-world toxic behavior breakdowns, and mind protection strategies through gripping storytelling. You'll learn to spot silent treatment traps, gaslighting games, and emotional abuse cycles before they steal your peace. Mastering the dark side of the mind starts with seeing it clearly, and your freedom from manipulation begins today.